Begin with terror in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Tony Shaffer is here, an expert on this subject. Tony, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Stu. Good to be here.
This is a social media story.
Absolutely.
This kind of terror is bred on social media, and it is, to some degree, turned on by social media. And I suggest to you there's not much we can do about it.
There's not at this point. And let's think about where this happened. Middle America. This wasn't New York. This wasn't Washington. This is in the middle of the continent, away from everything. And I think we have to parse this very carefully. First off, this is, I think, President Obama's worst nightmare by the fact that this guy, all appearances right now, was simply motivated by the Islamic radical religion. Right. And I think that's what President Obama keeps not wanting to talk about. Secondly, this was against a soft target. By the way, there are literally thousands of these kind of soft targets all across the nation. So we've got to be very careful and very aware of the fact that, as you just point out, there's not much we can do to stop it. So therefore, you have to prepare for it and prepare to mitigate it. And that means arming people who are these soft targets. I think these...
At a Naval Career Center?
Yeah.
You put guns in the hands of the guys behind the desk.
Stu, these guys were trained warriors. These Marines, these 4 guys who were killed, were helpless by the fact that they could not do what they were trained to do, defend themselves and use the tools of the trade. I'm not saying we should arm everybody. I'm saying we should be sure that some people are armed in those locations which are soft targets, and then figure out a way to get ahead of this.
You know, technologically, I may be behind on this one. I'm saying it's social media. That's the means of communication.
Right.
But there is another form of communication, which you know a lot about, and that is the black net.
The dark web.
The dark web, okay. And they are using it.
Absolutely.
Extensively?
One of the things that this group, ISIS, is much better than Al-Qaeda never dreamt of is the fact that they are at the cutting edge of technology. Last year, Stu, our friend Catherine Herridge reported on the fact that ISIS was targeting via the internet a father-son team of the Air Force last year. So think about where they've come from last year. What we've noticed, and to folks I've talked to, that these folks may be using what we call the dark web, where basically you can actually manually put in a URL, just put in the numbers, and those numbers then take you to exactly where you want to be. You can do that via a secure socket. Very hard to detect, and therefore you could actually be in a jihadist website chat room somewhere overseas and not necessarily be detected because you're actually going under the radar, what the FBI normally looks for.
Is this good tradecraft? I think that's the expression,
how
they communicate with each other without being known?
This is exactly tradecraft. The compromises caused by Eric Snowden has allowed these folks to understand how we look for them. Therefore, they go to a different methodology, which is under the radar. They would take these notes, physical, they would run into a store, give you a note. We call it a brief encounter, pass you a note. There's no visible means, electronic means of the transmission of that URL, that address, and then you go, put it in your computer, and go to it. There's no way of detecting that.
Wait a minute, Snowden revealed this, or he revealed to them how we go after them conventionally, so they go below the surface.
He revealed
into this dark net.
Absolutely.
Snowden did this?
Snowden revealed all the different techniques being used by NSA regarding code words, the way we use technology. All that was compromised, Stu. And so these guys, ISIS being very smart, have figured out a way to adopt and adapt using this underbelly of the internet. I think that's what we have to look at here.
Yeah, but are you telling me that the NSA, with all that supercomputing power, can't get inside this?
This is not NSA. This is human intelligence. This is clandestine operatives like me being trained to get inside of this. NSA can do a lot of vacuum cleaning. I'm talking about interaction on the internet. We need to penetrate these groups just like in the old days.
We need stooges. We need
there you go.
Guys who jump in and get all the information and then bust them.
This is traditional tradecraft via a different methodology. Remember, this is the same thing we've done against the mafia. It's just via the internet. We need to get back into that. And you need operatives to do that. You can't simply do that with electronic, people sitting at a keyboard.
I trust we've got them operating.
We have, but they're severely limited. I've talked to these folks. They are being held way back. There's a lot of conservative thinking that if we get too deep in this, we may not be able to get out. And I think we need to get further in and penetrate the networks.
Fascinating. Tony Shaffer, come back soon.
I will. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.